We have a potential for a bit of a trap scenario playing out within the crypto market in today's show. We'll have a look at what that looks like, why there may be a chance, at least for the bulls, to put in a bit of a short squeeze. We have a lot of data which is coming to a head today, right? We've spoken about this all week. Part of it, everything that's been unfolding over the course of the last couple of weeks, was the CPI coming out from the Fed. Of course, there was actually a drop there in the interest rate decision, but or at least in terms of the interest rates, they came down, but the price didn't follow through towards the upside, right? So what does that mean? And we had the Bank of Japan early this morning, which raised interest rates higher than expected. So that was 75 basis points. We have the quad-witching event as well, the quad-witching event, which is taking place. So just to give you an idea of what that is, quad-witching is stock options, stock index options, stock index futures from the S&P 500, single stock futures. And ultimately, this is going to bring a lot of volatility because the big fund managers have to rebalance things. And then what else? What else do we have? We have a couple more things. We have the bear moon. We have the bear moon, which is also taking place today. So what does that mean for price? In a low volatility environment, of course, these things can bring in new volatility, which could easily spike price high. And we spoke about that. I want to give you the pivot level because we're very close to that today, which could cause a little bit of a further upside move. But nevertheless, the bears are still in control. The trends are still towards the downside until such time as they can reverse that. It's lower lows and lower highs, but that doesn't mean in the short term you can't see a little bit of upside price momentum. So we'll talk about that today. Here it is. If you look at the CPI, it was expected that it was going to rise by 0.1. It came out yesterday at 2.7%, but you got to read the tape, right? What did the stock market do? And the answer is nothing. The stock market didn't really rally off of that news. A lot of the funds that have to position are probably waiting as well for these options expirations, which many times in the past have led to major pivot points. And that's why I want to entertain the possibility that maybe there could be a bit of a trap scenario that unfolds over here where you do get a little bit of a short squeeze. Why? Because we're in a very low volatility environment. We've been down only for quite a long period of time, which means it won't take much for price to spike up a little bit higher and liquidate a whole bunch of the shorts. The last couple of days and weeks, we've just seen long liquidation after long liquidations. We absolutely rinsing the longs in this market, and maybe it's going to be about time for the shorts to get a little bit of a squeeze, right? A little bit of a squeeze and liquidation event on their side, and that probably comes off of the back of this massive options expiration, or the stock options, index futures, and single stock futures options, which again, going back previously, what we've seen is usually that creates a bit of a pivot low or pivot high, depending if you're uptrending or downtrending when you come into that environment. So let's get into it. What else do we have going on? Let's just have a quick look. Remember that I'm not going to be doing videos next week because it's kind of vacation period, right? Been going strong for 4 years. 4 years. Can you guys believe that? I think over 1,000 videos. Absolutely insane. So I will be taking a little bit of a break. But if anything major happens, I'll update you. We can see that Trump's going to be speaking on Saturday. That's one thing to consider. And then let's just quickly see, do we have anything major into the end of the year? Nothing red, right? Nothing red. So nothing too serious until US FOMC meeting minutes is coming up on the 30th. So that's one thing. Before we get into all the content, I do want to let you know, if you want to keep in touch with me over the course of the vacation, I have 3 ways that I can keep in touch with you. One, it's all linked in the description below. If you just scroll through to the bottom under follow Kyle, right? You can go over there and you can follow me on the various different platforms. I can keep in touch with you on Twitter or X, on Instagram. And then, of course, I do have my personal vlogs channel, which I'm hoping to release some new content because I have a bit more time over the vacation period. So if you're not subscribed over there, again, just scroll through to the bottom to the vlog section, subscribe. I would love to have you guys join me over there as we do release new content. Remember, today we're also doing another giveaway of $1,500, right? So don't go anywhere. We already gave 500 yesterday. We're going to do 3 more batches, right? So another 1,500 today. Let's get into the content, right? So having a look over here, gold still applying pressure into that 4,380 level. It's just consolidating. The longer you consolidate into these highs over here, the higher the probability of the breakout. So I maintain my long exposure on gold over there. Silver extending its gains, very, very, very powerful. I think it's programmed, right? This is going to hit this 2.618 fib That's at $69. So very, very, very soon you're going to see $69 silver. But of course, this is really extending. At some point, you're going to get a deep pullback. If you want to catch that pullback, you're going to be monitoring those key 50% levels. So going from the low to wherever that high is, right? So let's assume that the high comes in at 70. Well, the next pullback level is probably going to be at that purple line at about 57. So that's something you can do for yourself over the vacation period. Remember, these are strong trending moves. There's a bull market happening in metals. And if you want to participate in that, you need to wait for those pullbacks. So gold is still not that overextended, right? This one's still doing okay. Maybe when silver pauses or pulls back over there, there'll be a rotation back into gold, and that will create that breakout. Platinum back testing into the range high breakout level, which I'll have to show you on the weekly time frame to make it make sense. There it is, range high breakout level. Let's zoom back in on the daily time frame. Pretty much testing essentially perfectly into that level. So if you wanted to be long on platinum, basically I'll just be long over here with the stop loss below today's low. Today's low took out yesterday's low, but then immediately bull step back in, which means that if, you want to stop out, it's an obvious invalidation. If this candle starts to turn red, that's going to be a deviation of the high, which means you have an easy trade, right? Very easy trade setup over here. You can just basically long over there, stop loss below today's low, and then just extend this for about a 3-4R, right? 3 or 4R over there. This can expand a lot higher because it's a multi-year, even a multi-decade parallel channel breakout, which should send this much, much, much higher. We can have a look at copper. Copper as well, also applying pressure off of the huge cup and handle, which is better seen on the weekly time frame. And you're looking at also an extension much higher. There's your cup. On the left-hand side, there's your handle, and this is looking like it's going to move up over time to about $8.15. But very difficult to trade this one. It's extremely, extremely volatile. I mean, look at this over here. For example, this ran up. Let's just grab our tool. There we go. It ran up 47%, followed by, in literally one single week, a 25.6% drop. This is like crypto types of moves. Unbelievable over there. We'll go into as well what's happening in the equity markets. So just highlighting, given that the interest rate didn't come out or the inflation didn't come out as bad as expected, there was actually good news. The market didn't really run off of this, right? Part of the reason is the DXY is bouncing off of that key support that we initially highlighted over here. So still making its way up. One thing you probably want to mark off on your own charts at home over the vacation period is if the DXY takes out that level, 99.317. If you take out that level, if you see this continue to grind up like this and break above that, any throwback is very likely that that's going to create a high low, which means that this is a major low within the market, that low that came in at 97.8. And then you're going to be looking at continuation higher. And unfortunately, that's going to create a lot of pressure within the rest of the stock markets, the equities, right? S&P 500, Dow Jones, NASDAQ, etc., right? So you have the S&P 500 is still fighting to defend that yellow line. That's where we wanted to see. It's very volatile, very choppy over there. Maybe we'll have a bit more clarity when these options expire later on today. So Dow Jones coming down, but still above the yellow box. NASDAQ over here, we already highlighted, this is already starting to roll over. Maybe a bit of a leading indicator in terms of what may come for the S&P 500 and what may come for the US dollar index rallying higher. So rolling over, weakening over here. Your best case scenario, in my opinion, when it comes to the NASDAQ is that you're going to become range bound, right? Range bound is probably going to be between 578 and then these highs of like 634 within that region. If bulls are going to remain in control, this probably has to slow down a bit, form a bit of a strong base, something like that. And then you can melt up, at some point in next year. Otherwise, getting into position of weakness, if you start to take out these lows like that, this is going to start to roll over very quickly, and we'll need to look much lower for support around those key 50% levels. So Russell as well, still holding up over here, but in the very short term, also weakening in terms of rolling over here and putting in a slightly marginal lower high. Let's have a look at the Magnificent Seven. Part of the way that we identified that there could be weakness coming into the stock market, remember, is that 5 out of the 7 Magnificent Seven stocks are starting to weaken, and there's only really 2 that have been strong. It was Tesla and Google. So Tesla remains strong. It continues to melt up, and the target is 720. Before I forget, I want to mention immediately that you actually have a lot of similarities over here between Tesla and Monero, which we're also long on Monero. We're long on Tesla, long on Monero. If you look at Monero, and I'll go to that over here, look at the price target, right? And the structure, 733. Monero hasn't broken above that range high breakout level like here where Tesla has already, right? Tesla leading a little bit, trading at 480, but a very similar target at 720. You go back to Monero. So you need to get back above these key levels over here. If you can start to trade above like 440, 450, that's going to confirm a similar breakout to what we've just seen on Tesla, and the targets are also very similar. So we remain long on Monero over here, looking for an extension of this to some of these higher prices. Quickly looking at Google, let's go. Google now bouncing off of that 50% level. This is exactly, if this is going to remain strong, and it's kind of in the short term moving in a parabolic fashion, very, very, very aggressive. If it's going to maintain this aggressive posturing, this is exactly where you want to see it hold. 300, right? You don't want to break below these lows. Could it come down one more time? Absolutely. You know, something like this, you could do something like that. But in the coming days, you want to see this form a high low, and then you want that extension up and breaching through 350. So these are the only two in the Magnificent Seven that look strong. Apple, decent bounce on the daily. We maintain that short exposure. At this point, to be honest, you can eliminate the risk and move your stops to break even. No chance of losing on this trade then. Remember, we initially shorted from much higher. It looked like it was positioning in strength over here based on that candle on Thursday, the 11th of December. So I closed out the short trade over there at break even, or was like a 0.73% loss, like absolutely nothing. And then we re-entered in when this candle came down. So it's been a bit of a choppy one, but I do want to remind you, rising wedge into the top of a multi-year parallel channel. So therefore, that's a little bit of, resistance over there. And we'll wait for the close, right? We'll wait for this close over here today. If this continues to roll over and you take out this low, well, then for the first time, you're going to have created a new swing low, meaning you need to break 265 on the Apple short. And then you know that you're in the money, right? So basically, if you see something like this, there you go. You know, close below here, you're absolutely in the money. Any spike up over here is just going to be for the latecomers, another opportunity to allocate into a short trade. And your trade is in the money, and you should easily make it down to 235. And then, of course, this has implications into the stock market, right? Because these are big stocks over here, Apple and NVIDIA. NVIDIA already rolling over, already losing this. Similar to the NASDAQ, what you need to see from NVIDIA to at least remain in a position of high time frame strength, so strength over time, is you probably want to see a range develop between 150 and this high, right? You need to chop a little bit. These are big ranges and they're tradable. If you are looking for markets to trade with less ruggability, right? I don't know if that's a word, but I made it up for today. Less ruggability. This is going to be the thing, right? To trade, right? 43% moves without getting absolutely zeroed out like in crypto, and a 30% short. So you can long at 45% up, short at 30% down. Decent moves over here. Since NVIDIA has been so strong and macro-wise is in this massive uptrend still, I would encourage you to rather focus only on longing support and then just simply taking profit at those range highs and not shorting, right? Because if you short this over here, this is very easily has the ability to squeeze you through that level. So Meta, let's have a quick look at Meta, and then we'll move into crypto very, very, very shortly. Let's just quickly go back there. Meta, yeah, still all over the place, chopping about. Microsoft still coming down over there. Amazon, cap below these 238 levels. So yeah, that's it. NVIDIA price target. Let's just quickly give that Frank the answer to his question. Well, in terms of NVIDIA, what I'd be looking for is right now, based on the weakness below this is also a mid-range, right? If you look at the high to the low, the yellow box is not only a key S-flip region, but it's also the mid-range. So as long as you remain below that, the target becomes 150. That is the target. So even if you spike up over here, over time, I think you'll come back down to about 149, 150. And then you want to see that hold where you can trade it back up. So that's a re-long opportunity. And that's based on this key previous all-time highs, right? The previous all-time highs, you expect to flip that into support. Okay, so as Alex Wells says over here, stock market rolling over. This is a real concern. That's absolutely a possibility. We spoke about it yesterday. I gave you a little bit more data. What happens leading into the midterms? You do typically see a bit more of a sizable correction. Remember, the narrative within the masses is always that, Trump wants to go into midterms with an extremely strong stock market. But if you look at the history, this is not always truly the case. In fact, we've often seen sizable corrections, which I spoke about yesterday. So macro-wise, it's all higher highs and high lows. So we need a high low. So even if you do correct into the midterms, it may provide an opportunity for a high low. But looking at the Magnificent Seven, which of course affects the S&P 500, in terms of weighting, it's that Pareto principle. Those 7 are going to hold up the majority of the S&P 500, which means if 5 of the 7 are rolling over, then yes, that can roll over the stock market. And you need to be aware of that. You need to pay attention to that. Plus, we're putting all the puzzle pieces together by looking at the DXY as well. So let's do a giveaway. We yesterday selected between row number on the Excel spreadsheet 3 and 68. It was number 43 that won. There happened to be a whale. Remember, we did see your message. By the way, we apparently your $500 will be actioned today into your account, right? So you should see that today. So yesterday I gave you guys another opportunity to extend it so that you can sign up, and we got like a whole bunch more. I think it was like another 30 people or something that joined. Remember, you had to meet the minimum requirement. Some of you didn't listen. You had to put $300 in to be eligible, and I can see some of you put in like 121, 199. You had to. One person put in $9.99. There it is. So if it lands on those ones, you're not going to win, right? You're not going to win. But anyways, let's go. So we're going from row number 3 now to 104. And we'll do the giveaway again. And then this should be actioned in, call it the next 24 to 48 hours. So let's roll it. We'll roll the dice over here. Are you going to win? 85. Let's go to 85. Is 85 eligible? Let's zoom in as well so you guys can see this all nicely. We'll go to number 85. And that is, you are eligible. Congratulations. Okay, we'll put that in green for you. $500 coming your way. That is if your user ID number, oh, you guys can't see it. Let me scroll up. If your user ID number is 551182147. I'll say it again on BitUnix, 551182147. If that is your user ID number, you won $500, right? So that's going to be actioned into your account. You don't have to do anything or email or anything like that. It's just going to appear in your account like magic. And we'll do 2 more. Okay, let's do another one, and then we'll save the last one for the end. Remember, if you do want to participate in these giveaways in the future, use the link in the description below. Sign up to BitUnix. They do have $50,000 giveaway plus an iPhone 17 Pro Max with 256 gigabytes of memory if you want to participate. Okay, let's do another one. So we're going to spin it again. We've done that one. Generate. Let's go. Number 27. Okay, 27. Are you eligible? That is the question. And you are eligible as well. Congratulations. And I'll read that out in a minute. That is $500 coming your way. This one was also $500. There we go. So if your user ID number is 8713-84197. I'll say it again. 8713-84197. You've won yourself $500. We'll move this up and we'll do another one towards the end, right? So let's quickly put that over there. So we just remember and we'll do another one. Alrighty. Therefore, we've done that. We'll move that up as well. And we're going to do one more spin. Okay, so let's go. Let's get into the rest of the things when it comes to crypto. Merry Christmas, by the way. Happy New Year's as well, since I probably won't be able to wish you on YouTube over here. But happy holidays to all of you. Let's get into the crypto content. Very balanced still when it comes to the long to short ratio. What does this mean? It means probably continuation of the trend, which is still down. But I want to still build the case for why you could see a bit of a short squeeze. Part of the reason is because we've just seen relentless annihilation of the longs day after day, week after week for almost months over here. And it won't take much with the daily exchange volume having come down aggressively. You're now fast approaching some of these absolutely critical support levels of 31.22 billion. Remember, previously we were eyeing out that 46 billion mark. We said those levels need to hold right around that 46 billion. You breach through that and it's been down only. And if we just extend this. You can see there was a lot of support that came in around that 30 billion mark. So we'll see if the 7-day daily exchange volume does find a little bit of support over there. That could create a bit of a spike up. The ETF flows on BTC and ETH are still negative on the dailies, and same thing on the weeklies, which creates the opportunity for bottoming formation to form. But, and of course, guys, by the way, this is absolutely not backpedaling on the bear flags, the head and shoulders. We'll talk about that as well in a minute. I'm talking about the very short term. You could easily see a bit of a spike up over there, which we have been seeing some manipulation over the last couple of days, right? So overall, until this turns up, and I want to give you an example of how. So similar to this, 2021, and similar to late 2024, this period over here. So early 2023, late 2024, higher highs and high lows. You need to see those types of gains to have a sustainable rally. What does that mean for the high time frame traders, swing traders, long-term investors? All you need to do, take a chill pill, enjoy your time with your family and friends, relax. If there is a short squeeze, let the short squeeze take place. Reevaluate, how big are the liquidations? If there's a short squeeze and you see that, you know, around almost over $1 billion, firstly, you're looking for the key criteria, over $1 billion worth of liquidations in 24 hours. Of the majority of that should come from the short traders, say 600, 700, 800 million, must be shorts that are liquidated. An uptick over here in the 7-day daily exchange volume off of that type of a short squeeze would have potentially the potential to reverse things for a longer relief rally, right? Call it your Santa rally that everybody always looks for and hopes for towards the end of the year. And how's this all going to work together? Well, we need to wait for this options expiration to take place. So that is one potential over there. I do want to have a look quickly at what's happening in the data hub section for the hyperliquid whale that was mega long on Ethereum, which, I mean, he's still long, right? $2.1 billion. He remains long on Ethereum. So that is the biggest trade, largest whale position on Hyperliquid. That's still quite a huge position over there. In terms of the market cycle peak ROI, we're still downtrending over here. You can see we're following the pink line, and we follow this cycle's been most similar in the bull phase to 2017 and 2021. Therefore, for the down phase, we'll leave the same thing on. And you can see over here, you're approaching that inflection point, right? Timing-wise, was around day 75 that things start to transition. You get a little bit of a spike up. That's what happened in 2021. Okay, so moving on from that, unless you can get back above the 21 EMA, there's no talk of it being a bull market, right? Just to be clear, any bounces that do occur, and you've tagged this level multiple times, and I want to bring up one other important thing that we haven't spoken about for a while, but you're still capped in this tight range, right? The orange line, the high and the low, you haven't actually left this range. So you need to understand, if you do play that short squeeze over here, that is going to meet a whole lot of resistance between the 21 and the 50 EMA, right? 21 EMA, 50 EMA on the weekly time frame. That cluster comes in at about $98,000, and it's going to be a very, very, very significant level to try and reclaim over there for the bulls. So what am I looking at over here? If there is another trap scenario where maybe on the low time frames you put in a spike up and then they get dumped on, because this is what's happened the last couple of days in a row, I would then look for a sweep, and I'm going to clean this up. I don't want too much mess over here. I'll then be looking for a sweep of the major low. So in order to put in a sustainable rally alongside everything that we've spoken about over here on the dashboard page, we also mentioned this. Once you put in a low and everyone thinks that's the low, you do tend to put in a rally and then you sweep that low. So have a look at this. You sweep that low. I'm going to just highlight it over here. So there it is. You sweep that low, price rallies. And we see this time and time again. Let's go to the next one. Look like a major low over here, right? Price rallies up, comes back down, you sweep the low, and you rally aggressively. Here it is again. Looks like a major low, multiple weeks of down, 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 down. Price comes up, sweeps the low, and then rallies. Same thing over here. We're more similar to this, right? Hold sideways, looks a bit optimistic, sweeps the low, and then off you go. So we haven't actually swept that low. Again, it happens over here, sideways for a few weeks in terms of a correction, sweeps the low, and you rally. sweep the low, and you rally, right? And there it is again, sweep the low a couple of weeks later, and you rally. So we haven't actually swept this low. This low is coming in at 80,524. So I'm always open to the possibility if you do, squeeze up a little bit, and then that creates the momentum to smack them back down again into that 70K region. I would be looking to buy at that key 50% level, which is 70,900, 69,000 in that zone. I'll show you on the daily what that looks like. If this happens during the vacation period, and I know, guys, this is a longer, in-depth show because obviously we're going to be going on vacation for a bit. So I need you to be up to scratch on absolutely everything so you understand my mindset and what I'm looking for based on multiple scenarios. So what I'm looking for is if you do come down into this key zone, I'm willing to buy this as a short-term spot trade that I'm going long, right? So I'm going long on spot, probably from about 69 to 70K. And this could potentially turn into a much longer term swing trade if that sweep hits that level and then reclaims, because that will be the same as all the other sweeps, the swing failure pattern taking out this low over here. So you can only unfortunately have confirmation once you get below and then get back above that level. And then we're going to be looking for much higher prices. So, and that creates a technical bounce, which we spoke about as well on this potential. It's a potential because nothing's confirmed yet. Potential head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head, come down into key support, right shoulder. This is a technical bounce zone, which I personally want to participate in. 69 to 70K. I'm a buyer over there for a complacency bounce into probably a right shoulder. Now, you need to evaluate how price comes into a key level on the high time frames if that does happen, because this is still a bear flag that's forming, which means that maybe you won't get the right shoulder, right? If the bear flag plays out, you could do this and you could just go straight through that level. And that's why we need to, there's no limit orders that are set here where it's set and forget, right? I'm not setting limit orders and just going away and hoping for the best. I'll have to monitor live what happens as price comes in there. And then, of course, I hope to update you all and the 𝗬𝗚 members and everyone during the vacation period. So here it is, liquidation levels. Let's just quickly go into the weekly time frame over here. There's nothing on the daily. It's been absolutely cleaned out. There it is, building, right? Building. Yesterday was about 75 million. So it is rising in terms of where those stop losses are. If price rallies up to 90,900, which based on the volatility and the momentum oscillators are absolutely shot, there's a real possibility that you could easily get that squeeze into that zone over there. This is still very bullish and should be your biggest concern for the longer term. So if you do get this move up over here, this is going to create absolute carnage. If that move happens, the Bitcoin bear flag plays out, and then you're probably not even getting a head and shoulders complacency bounce for your right shoulder. You're probably just melting straight through. So these are the options, right? These are the things that we're looking at over here. This is still higher highs and higher lows. Bulls are in control on USDT dominance, which means bears, which is my statement I made in the beginning, are still in control for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. It's still bearish. Short term, you can get squeezes, right? So this little bit of a move up over here, this is where the squeeze could come from. If price remains above the RSI pivot level, which doesn't require that much, there is a chance. Any daily close, this is the key point, any daily close that occurs above that 89,447, which was yesterday's high, would mean that there's a high likelihood that you're probably going to be putting in a bit of a bigger squeeze. And that can easily go into that 100K region. You've still got your cross between the 50 and 200. They're still downtrending, and they will act as resistance along the way, right? So this is your bear flag. We also spoke about this. Multiple candles opening and closing next to each other below the flag is confirmation of this breakdown. But because this is such a low volume environment, the trap scenario wouldn't surprise me once this data is out the way and the options have expired. So that means closes. How do you action this and what do you do with this information? Right now, there's nothing you do from the long side until you close above yesterday's high. If you close above yesterday's high, you can look for short-term pullbacks that will probably squeeze a bit higher. Okay, so basically nothing to do over here. How am I practically handling this and what am I practically doing with this information? Well, I'm long on Monero. That's it. Basically, in terms of crypto, I'm long on Monero. So if this confirms and closes, I'm not actually looking to play the Bitcoin short squeeze. I'm pretty much just going to be sitting in the Monero trade and letting that run higher. And if this closes below here again, well, now we're increasing the probability of the breakdown, and then I'll probably just take profit on the Monero trade. That's basically what I'm doing in terms of the crypto positioning. So low volume, still below all the profile areas. The volume profile is going to be acting as resistance over here. It's not bullish, high time frame until you reclaim all those areas, which we're still below. So you can see trap after trap after trap, right? Have a look at this. A lot of traps, right? Price squeezes, dumps. Price squeezes, dumps. That you have to ask yourself, is that going to happen again? Price squeezes, are we going to dump? Well, if you do dump from here again, I feel like the I'm tired boss meme is going to be more relevant than ever. And then that could play out that bear flag scenario. The probabilities are still higher that bears are in control and going to take the lead over here. But I've given you the key zones, right? The pivot level. Get back above yesterday's high, and then you can easily squeeze things high. And yes, you have a bear moon. You have a bear moon. I see you guys have just brought that up. So oftentimes what we've seen with these moon phases is once that moon phase prints, you can often run in the opposite direction, and then only towards the end of that moon phase, which is a 2-week period, you play out the downside. So don't get trapped. Basically, do not get trapped in the choppy price action. Zoom out. Okay, ETH BTC. Here it is. We said the best case scenario for the bulls is going to be to form a choppy range like this. It's very unlikely that this is just going to, moon from this point over here. So it's low volume, terrible price action, absolutely wrecking people. We only have a few trades on the table. Let's go through them. So we have the Monero long trade. This is it. Can you still enter in this trade? It's a question that I get asked quite a lot. Let's go into the 4-hour time frame and have a look. So if I were to allocate into this trade over here, this was the second opportunity that we drew out. You never really got that move down. So I am going to clean this up a little bit. There we go. Let's just clean that up. Unfortunately, you never got that move down. In terms of establishing a position now, I mean, you're going to have to utilize some of these lows. It's just like, will these lows get run, right? This is a lot of liquidity. So you could easily do something like that. If you did see that obvious entry on that trend line over there for Monero, 389, we had our stop loss below this low. And of course, now we've raised that. We're at break even. There's no chance of losing on this trade. So it is a bit choppy. We've spent a lot of time here. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is why I think that if Bitcoin short squeezes over here, there could easily be a move towards the upside, especially for Monero. The volume looks very decent over here on the 4-hourly time frame. It's tough. It's tough. I think your best bet is to probably set a grid order, which you can basically just copy mine, by the way. I don't know if we have that in the description today. Let's just have a look over here. Yes, there's Pinex. If you go over here and you click copy my strategies, you could pretty much just copy it. You'd be entering a little bit later, but there it is. XMR, I'm entering from, 310 and selling up to, so I'll be buying from, if you enter now, it's going to buy from current price, and anything that draws down towards 310, it will be buying. And then anything that goes up towards 740, it's going to be selling. So that's probably your best entry mechanism, is going to be looking at like grids like this down into that level. Okay. Alrighty. So that's Monero. Let's go into some of the other trades that we had set up over here. Zcash. Okay. Still all over the place, still choppy, similar to Bitcoin. Once it trades back down to about 299, it's probably going to break that level down. Okay. This, I said yesterday I would close this. So I said that it's taking too long to break down. I'd probably close that. It's up 6% today. If you are short on syrup, consider just closing the trade. I think this can easily squeeze as well. Okay, we got World Liberty Finance. We in the money over here. You've already played out almost 50% of the move. It is absolutely worthwhile to take about 25% profit, because if we get that short squeeze on Bitcoin, this is going to do the same thing, right? So you want to pay yourself a bit over there. So I'll be taking 25% off the World Liberty Finance short trade. XRP also can easily squeeze, but overall it's still very bearish. Any squeezes that happen are opportunities to exit positions that you're stuck in. Pump, yeah, it looks terrible. Absolutely terrible, but can it squeeze in the short term? Absolutely it can. Let's see the other ones that we had. the BitGet short trade. Monitor it, right? Monitor it. If you get a short squeeze, it will create another opportunity. The trade setup is still the same. It's just about the execution of the perfect entry over there. 𝗬𝗍𝗫 is going to be the same thing. You know, any squeeze is an opportunity to enter into short on 𝗬𝗍𝗫 token. Okay, what were some of the others that we had over here? Let's go to Pippin. Okay, Pippin may have topped very close, right? We said by the end of December, I think this thing will start to fall through. I maintain short exposure on Pippin. So that's the other one. Still have short exposure on Pippin. Okay, cool. I'll check the comment section, guys. Let's have a look over here. What else have we got going on? Let's see. So again, yeah, when he has a comment over here, let me just find that. When in doubt, zoom out. Absolutely. When in doubt, zoom out. So what is going on with the high time frames? Bearish. Daily, bearish. Low time frames, potential for a short squeeze. Okay, low time frames have the potential for a short squeeze, which can then flip the high time frames, but we can only cross that road when we get there. Alrighty. Okay, guys, we'll do another giveaway in a moment. I do want to just mention as well that if you, let's go back over here. If you are looking for a place to trade and you don't have an account, maybe someone new to the market, remember Bybit are offering $30,000 sign-up deposit bonus, 50%, $50 you're getting guaranteed, 30K is depending on how much you deposit. And I also want to let you know, if you are new, we've again attached the beginner's guide for how to trade on Bybit and utilize all those various different tools. So use the link in the description below, and let's move on to the giveaway. All right, so we're going to do the next giveaway. I have one more $500 to give away on this list. Let's spin it. Okay, 20. So what is 20? Is 20 eligible? User ID is eligible. So everyone we've got has been eligible so far, which is absolutely wonderful. So let's just put in there $500. If your user ID number is 851-485-167, I'll say it again, 851-485-167. Happy, Merry Christmas. You've won yourself $500. That is the $2,000 giveaway done. Alrighty. Pippin short is printing. Well done, well done, well done. Good stuff. You obviously got a slightly better entry than me. I think I'm at about break even on my one, but I think it's going to print. I think it's going to zero. Okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but 99% down. Probably 99% down over there. Alrighty, let's move on. Okay, I did want to have a quick look at some of the just the momentum oscillators on various different time frames. So first and foremost, let's just have a look here at the monthly, right? Remember, any time that the monthly started to roll over, the top was in. Short term, or let's say weekly charts, things like that, daily charts, you can get a bit more of a squeeze, but months out, like 12 months, 6 months out, this is obviously going to be going into a bear market now. 3 week is still rolling over. 2 week is also still coming down quite aggressively. So this is usually where you'll find like the biggest moves is if you see something like that, which means this can still come down quite a bit more over time, over the coming months. Weeklies, let's have a look at the weekly. So this is what I'm talking about. Weekly is already getting a green dot. That's why it won't take that much for a bit of a short squeeze over here. Green dots on the weekly. Okay, 5 day, still coming towards the upside over there. 3 day, starting to print one of those signals, right? Very similar to this. So I can just expand this. If you have a look at this, very similar to this. This is what I would love to see, a bullish divergence, for example, on the weekly. And the best way to see that, and I'll go back on this chart, this is what I would love to see. I would absolutely love to see this level get run, 80,524 into this key 70K zone to print, hopefully, the bottom of the neckline, hit the bottom of the neckline of the head and shoulders. And then I would like to long that bullish divergence. This would be an absolutely killer trade. These are big moves, guys. From here to here, if you could long something like that on spot, you're looking at, let's just say you get your entry at like 72, 44% move. 44% move. So we need to see this level run into key support. And then let's go back to this chart over here with, and we'll expand this, with a bullish divergence. So the only way you get the bullish divergence is we need price to make a lower low, which equals sweeping that. That's what we want to see, right? So price must make a lower low and sweep that with the momentum oscillator rising like that. If we get that, beautiful, beautiful trade. Alrighty, so I need to, and that's why you got to follow me, right? Make sure that you follow me on the other, platforms over here. On X, if you're not following me on X, follow me on Instagram. I'll do some Q&A as well in the holidays. We'll do some Q&A on X over there, and then also on the vlogs channel. On the YouTube vlogs channel, maybe we'll connect over the vacation period, and I'll be able to let you know if anything major happens like this, and that's going to be a big trade, right? I'll have to pull the trigger on that. Okay. What else? What else, guys? Let's see. Let me check over here. Let's see what else is going on over here in your guys' chat. Hyperliquid. We can have a look at Hyperliquid as well. That is all good. Let's just get our charts in order. Before we go to Hyperliquid, let me just check as well on the dailies what's going on over here. So you can see very similar. Look at that. Just give us one more low, and this is going to be a killer trade. Very similar to what happened in March of 2025. And this sweep elicited 67% bounce, right? Huge. Well, that took you to new all-time highs. So you could see something very easily similar to that. Like you can run up to 100, 105K, I believe, at least on that relief rally. That would be a proper relief rally. And it oftentimes happens when nobody's paying attention, which is now during vacation periods. Like, let's actually see how many of you are live on this video right now. So 1,440 of you. Please smash the like button. If you haven't smashed the like button, smash the like button over there. And let's quickly see what you guys think over here. Local bottom, 27% of you. Bear trap, and we're heading lows, 44% of you. Choppy, 18% of you. And a shakeout is 11% of you. Look, I would be really happy to see if this was, a trap, right? And we're going to go lower one more time to do that, to create that sweep. That's what I'm hoping for. I want to see this sweep over here. Okay, let's go into Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid quickly. Okay, so, put in your request while you still can. Put in your request while you can. So we've hit the first level. Of course, it makes sense that there is a bit of a technical bounce from here. I'm going to clean this chart up a little bit. How high could Hyperliquid bounce from here? It looks like the market is in that, in that zone now where you could just start to see a bit of relief. And I'm going to put on the 0.382. So this is more or less the area. 27 to 29. I think you could easily put in some relief into that zone over there. Okay, Metis. We'll have a look at Metis because I saw that request a couple of times. Metis USDT. Metis style. Let's go to, we'll use this one on OKX. Again, it's been down only, right? Down only. This is why it won't take that much. It looks terrible. Of course, it's absolutely horrendous, but any bounces that occur over here are going to be opportunities for you to exit. You can short squeeze all the way up to about $10, which is huge. That's like almost 100% move. $5.30 up to about $10, almost 100% move. It looks very similar to Sonic, which is also down only. I mean, this thing literally took out the liquidation event where many coins went to zero. The 10th of October took that level out. I can't believe it. Or I can believe it, actually. Shocking. Alrighty. ACT. I'll look at ACT. ACT USDT. Okay, ACT. We'll go to that. Yeah, it's got a, this is the type of short squeeze you can see, right? So down only, and then boom, you put in a bit of a pump. But I mean, this thing's had its move. This is like straight into underside resistance. This has had its move. This whole area is going to be extremely, if it can begin to flip this, you can talk about deviations, right? But that's going to take time. So if ACT can, for example, get above this and flip this into support, great. Alrighty. Sonic bringing tears for Ed. Yes, absolutely. No, it's brutal. Absolutely brutal on Sonic. Alrighty, Solana. Yeah, let's have a look at Solana. We have to look at some of the majors. I don't know if we looked at these properly. We did. Look, I told you all of the last couple of weeks, For Solana, it's a really difficult trade because it's still in the middle of no man's land. It's absolutely nowhere. You can't long it, you can't short it. You're going to be shorting it straight into support. You're going to be longing it before it hits that support in the middle of no man's land. There's nothing you can do over here. You need to either let it bounce and look for a new short trade opportunity, or B, wait for it to hit key support in this $100 region, low hundreds, 100 to 110. Pink box, right? That's the area of interest. All right. I wish I could bring you guys on to chat with me. I wish I could like bring you physically onto the screen, because it's been a year, guys. It's been quite a year. It's been an amazing year with you guys. It's been a difficult year when it comes to the markets, and I really applaud all of you. Your commitment will be rewarded, like absolutely. You know, that's the thing. A lot of people ask me, hey, what's the key to success? And my answer is always consistency. You got to show up all the time, because you just never know which of those days is going to provide the biggest trade of your life. So many times, like, you know, so many times I thought it was going to be on a certain day, it's going to provide me the best trade ever. And it didn't, and amounted to nothing. And then other days, you know, I executed the trade setup and I thought, you know, probably going to get stopped out, probably not going to amount to much. And those were my biggest trades ever. 100Xs, 300Xs, 500X, and 1,000X that we did within this crypto cycle. It's been unreal. It's been unreal. That didn't happen this year, though. That was 2024. I think we established those trades in 23 and they rode up into 2024. But we're going to do it all over again. We're going to run it back turbo, right? All over again. So don't go anywhere. You need to be consistent. There's still a long way to go. I'm nowhere near giving up or finishing this, you know, this career. We have a lot more to do and achieve together, and we can always keep learning. All right. So I would love to connect with you guys. Please go through, subscribe to the personal channel. 4,822 of you. Let's get that number rising over there. Just scroll through to the bottom. You can follow me on all the socials over here. There it is, linked in the description below over there. X, Instagram, and the vlogs channel. I really want to connect with you guys during the vacation period. And then for the rest of you, I will see you all in Whale Room, right? So that is it from me, folks. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely holiday wherever you guys are in the world. May you all be abundantly blessed and enjoy your time with your friends and your family. And we'll reconnect either on my personal channel during the vacation period, or the rest of you, I'll see you in the new year. Cheers for now.